Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 17 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss progress being made in cloud computing programs within the Department of Defense and Homeland Security agencies. With me on today's show are Paul Puckett, Director of Enterprise Cloud Management Agency, U.S. Army; Shane Barney, Chief Information Security Officer, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services; Dr. Mark Lucas, Director, Cloud Computing Operations, Department of Homeland Security; Louis Copland, Department of the Navy CIO, Department Deputy Chief Technology Officer; Jonathan Albom, Federal Chief Technology Officer at ServiceNow; David Kelly, Technology Fellow, Deloitte Consulting; and Yvonne Chung, Senior Director, Solutions Architect, Red Hat North American Public Sector. We have a lot of horsepower on this panel. Paul, we're going to start with you. Once upon a time, you were in office. Now you're an agency. You've been on that journey for now, I guess, almost 2 years, year and a half plus. Tell us about the state of all the great work going on at the Army.
Absolutely, Luke, and thanks for having me. Time flies. We're actually just about to hit 3 years since the Enterprise Cloud Management Office was first stood up, now in the agency. And that happened in January of 2021. Because we shifted the strategy from a kind of a point in time thing, being more of a management top-down way of doing business in the then CIO G6. And now it's an agency executing real-time services for the Army. We see the criticality when it comes to the adoption at scale. And so we also see the enduring need for the capability as well. We've done a number of things in the last 3 years, most notably with the stand-up of C Army. We pushed for, hey, we need to have a multi-tenant secure environment in which essentially any customer of the United States Army can deploy their system into the cloud. Because prior to C Army, everyone was just kind of doing it on their own. And so that's been live now for 2.5 years. So a lot of great news, success stories coming out of there. The first, the ERPs we've talked about many times, but now over 150 systems working through the process of the CMET process, just about to hit 100 customers that are actually building or also operational and live within the environment itself. And we're also moving and have been moving for the last year for the adoption of OCONUS Cloud. And so how we actually field cloud computing capabilities, OCONUS, to support predominantly a number of exercises that we've had leveraging our mission command systems. And so we moved on this idea of a tactical cloud about a year ago, born out of the 101st Division, led by 18th Airborne Corps, and really kind of taken to scale, if you will, across each one of the corps now. And so we've got 18, 1st, 3rd, and 5th Corps that are all using cloud computing for mission command. And what that's done is it's created a new feedback loop for really requirements. And we've talked about this a lot in the federal space of, we kind of get requirements wrong. And really my point to the team has always been the lead time for how feedback is gathered from the actual field before it becomes a hard requirement, funded, and then delivered just takes entirely too long. And so establishing quick feedback loops between Forces Command, as well as PEO C3T, the people building these capabilities for mission command, and then quickly fielding it with cloud computing has shown immense value. And so we're now taking that to scale. And then finally, just a few other good news stories is how we're able to leverage the capacity and scale of the cloud to support the total Army is in the past has always been a hardware challenge and a geographic location challenge. And we're now live for when it comes to delivering Google Workspace. So we ensure that all soldiers have emails, so we can deprecate the old Defense Enterprise email solution. But we've also moved on our Bring Your Own Device project. So anyone with a mobile device can have access to secure information all the way up to impact level 5. And what this has done is truly democratized our abilities to use any type of equipment that we have, whether it's yours or whether it's government furnished, for people to be able to do their job. And then we're leaning into that even further with delivering virtual desktop for the entire Army, currently in user acceptance testing. And so I learned a lot from like what Louis and the Navy has done, but taking it to scale for the entire Army and truly trying to empower our soldiers, civilians, with the actual capabilities that they need and lowering the barrier to entry when it comes to doing their job. And we just see the online on-demand capacity of cloud computing just continually to demonstrate value and being an enabler of that. So a number of really good things that we've been moving on in the last 3 years.
A lot of great capability being embraced globally. Very interesting and very exciting. Shane, how about over at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services? You all have been an early adopter of a variety of technologies, embracing the cloud, multi-cloud, et cetera. Tell us about the status to where you all are these days.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Luke. It's great to be here. USCIS, we jumped into the cloud feet first, hardly even looking at what we were doing over 10 years ago now. Learned a lot of fun, hard lessons along the way. Still learning, actually. But what I can say, as I look back now, and especially as I look at our environment today, we've made a lot of good choices as well. And a lot of those lessons that we learned weren't necessarily painful lessons per se, but they were just good things that we've learned along the way that really have made our cloud journey successful. And now I look at our enterprise, we're probably 95% cloud-based, probably maybe even more. We are in different cloud environments now. We're actually in 3 different cloud environments at this point. So we've really seen the utility and the value of it. All of our major business applications are cloud-based, and we've definitely seen the value add there. And we continue to leverage that technology. We continue to push the envelope and looking for new and innovative ways to solve our mission problems. Immigration is a complex, data-heavy, still rather paper-intensive process. And we're looking to solve that. We're looking to ensure that as we go forward, that you can submit and apply for any immigration benefit via the internet. And we want to make that accessible. We want to make sure that the people that we serve throughout the world, literally throughout the world, have that capability. We recognize there's always going to be some element of paper. It's the nature of the business. But at the same time, we want to have the in-house capabilities to either digitize that and make that accessible to our officers who are doing the adjudications in the field or around the world. We want to put the technology in the hands of our refugee officers and our asylum officers who are working, literally on the ground, sometimes in some really terrible locations, to be able to not only give them the ability to capture the information and data that we need, but also to be able to make decisions when they're there and on the ground. It is something we've never really been able to accomplish in the past, and it's something we're really striving towards. And I think the next real big thing for us, I know we'll probably get into this later, is on the biometrics front, and then really trying to figure out, what is that next step look like on the biometric side, and how, not only just how we capture it, but how we leverage it.
Love the idea of introducing this new technology and focusing on that customer experience. That's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
Always good to talk to you, Shane. Dr. Lucas, you're at the department level, 250,000 plus employees, a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different operating components. Give us a state of the status to what the inner workings are there across the department and organizing and structuring all this great capability.
Yeah, a lot of work going on, Luke. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show. Great to be among these distinguished panelists here. One of the things we're excited about, Luke, here at Homeland Security is our cloud security gateway solution. We did a proof of concept early this year for a solution that not only helps us implement zero trust, and micro-segmentation of architectures, but it also allows us to gain visibility across our hybrid compute environment, which is our co-location facilities, on-premises locations, and our cloud service provider environments. We're in multiple clouds as well. And that visibility gives us not only the operational visibility to improve the operations of the support for these critical missions that we have going on, but also helps us to respond to and mitigate any cybersecurity threats that we may have globally. That cloud security gateway solution, Luke, does give us many abilities to include IoT traffic analysis, data loss prevention analysis, and feedback to our organization. But it also provides us with the ability to do geo-tracking and give us the ability to see our assets in real time across the world, which is a game changer for us. Second, it's a part of that, and further on with that, we have now visibility across our hybrid compute environment, much more so than we've ever had. We're using both cloud-based tools and some legacy tools that we have, and some cutting-edge technology to give us visibility and ability to respond quickly to any threats or operational impacts that we have. Next, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention our Network Operations Security Center. Because we've had the awesome ability, based on some leadership guidance, to implement a combined network operations and security center into one cohesive organization. as a part of that, Luke, we've decided to implement cloud computing into that solution as well, and that architecture, which gives us the ability to improve cloud computing awareness across our hybrid compute environment, or whether it's in a hybrid configuration or whether it's cloud-based native. So, and then last but not least, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention what's in the public sphere as well. We exited successfully out of our tier 3 data center in Southern Virginia, and we were able to effectively migrate 64% of our systems either to cloud native solutions in the cloud or a hybrid based configuration. So we've done a lot here at Homeland Security. We're really proud of what we're doing, especially given the fact that we're supporting the critical missions that we have going on. So really proud to be a part of that and helping out where we can.
Such complex missions, FEMA, Coast Guard, Secret Service, TSA, et cetera. And love that NOSC concept. I think that was actually adopted from the military. Speaking of which, Lewis, let's get a state of the state from the Navy. I know there's a lot of activity going on over there.
There is. Good afternoon. When I came on board as the deputy CTO a few years ago now, one of the first things I was asked to do was help modernize the Department of the Navy's cloud policy. And really the point there was to say, cloud isn't new. Cloud isn't something we're dipping a toe into. It's, the third decade of the 21st century. That's table stakes. Cloud is at the center of how we think about these things. And we're past crawl, we're past walk, we're running. So we signed that out in December of 2020. But, what does that actually mean? Because we've all labored under the scourge of lift and shift. And digital transformation really is not a technology problem, it's a culture problem, or as one of our folks likes to say, IT is easy except for the people. So the question was, how are we going to change the technology culture? Because bringing the right tools to the table is necessary but not sufficient. FedEx is going to be great at logistics, regardless of if they're on Excel or a Kubernetes microservices mesh. So we've been really focusing on that culture problem at the CIO level. And just in September, Aaron Weiss, our CIO, signed out a capstone design concept for information superiority. We have an information superiority vision that the Secretary of the Navy signed. And this says, well, culturally speaking, how are we going to shift the way we think about technology solutions to realize information superiority? We said, there are a few things. We really want to elevate customer experience as a key outcome. We really want to elevate operational resilience as a key outcome. That whatever your requirements of record are, those two are going to swamp it in practice. When we all go remote for COVID, when no one's looking at the paperwork from 7 years ago to figure out what your key performance parameters are. They're saying, is it there? Is it still there? Can I use it to get my job done? And to get after that, we outlined 3 lines of effort. Again, making sure necessary but not sufficient. We need to actually optimize our information enterprise for cloud. We need to adopt enterprise services because we just can't have every team going off and starting from scratch with a blank piece of paper and saying, first I'll get some compute and store, and then I'll figure out some business process workflows. And we really need to implement zero trust because that's a game changer for those 2 key outcomes of customer experience and operational resilience. And we've seen some really big success over the last couple of years, especially with flank speed for the Navy, which is our Microsoft 365 environment, but also the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service tiers. So that's something where we now have 500,000 people operating in a tenant that's got many pretty advanced zero trust features turned on, that's got information protection implemented, that's allowing access from personal devices over personal network connections, where our cyber defenders have very dynamic and granular and conditional ability to fine-tune those accesses. And that's, as Mr. Weiss said just recently, it's really just the door we went through. Now we can have the conversation about, well, what's the ratio of end user devices we need to virtual desktops? What are the different virtual desktop, the evergreen virtual desktop images that we can tailor by persona? Software developers, or maybe a shipyard artisan who doesn't need to do anything except enter time and attendance. And so where our focus is now is not trying to scale some of these things up, because Agile doesn't really scale up, but how can we decompose our problems, really empower teams to stop doing things that don't add value and let them take ownership and run with these solutions.
A lot of moving parts going on there at a global scale. And I think about all the capability across these bases, the ships, et cetera. Daunting task. Jonathan, you're in a unique situation there where you're seeing all this across these various agencies adopt these various technologies, all the way from just sort of lift and shift to SaaS as a service to citizen services, et cetera. Give us the state of the state from where you see it.
Sure. Thanks, Luke. We've heard some great use of cloud already. I want to talk about some mission use cases that ServiceNow is involved in across the agencies that we've already talked about. We're doing things like investigative case management. We're supporting immigration at the Air Force. We're doing work to support airman readiness. So there's a number of mission use cases like that are using cloud technologies, including ServiceNow. And it's exciting to be a part of that. One of that I wanted to dive into a little more deeply is around the solution that we worked with, that we helped the Army create for housing. So, if you go back to the origins of this project, soldiers and their families were having challenges with Army managed housing. There could be maintenance issues. There could be other challenges in maintaining that home. And it was a very complicated paper-based process to get those issues corrected. We worked with the Army to deploy a workflow on ServiceNow using our customer workflows and also field service management capabilities in order to make it very simple for soldiers and their families to support maintenance issues with their homes. Using a phone, they could just simply take a picture of something that's wrong and send it into a central office that could dispatch a person to repair that problem and get that home back in shape very quickly. That's where we started. We expanded it to what we call fence to fence, where and I think that we moved to fence to fence in just 3 months after the initial deployment, where any garrison resource can create a request for anything it may be problematic, whether it was a building or it was a road, it was a fence, whatever it was. So, we're using a cloud technology like ServiceNow to make it very easy for people to have problems resolved. And I think it was deployed very quickly. It was something that was adopted very quickly. I think in the first year we had close to 50,000 people using this. 200,000 requests were submitted. And so, we can see a really terrific use case where suddenly a system that may have been paper-based, where the workflows were unmanaged at times, now there's great tracking and visibility, and people can be served very quickly, and they can get what they need to focus on things that are most important, their families, their mission. So it's, I think, a tremendous story.
And no question that you're able to deploy it securely and certainly able to deploy it in a sort of a mobile fashion type thing.
I was gonna say it runs an impact level 4 environment. ServiceNow is creating an impact level 5 capability for our customers for other kinds of cloud requirements. So it's very exciting to be part of ServiceNow and work on these projects today.
Sounds fantastic, and I'm sure the Air Force is greatly appreciative of that. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.